So I was in a little bit of a mini conference today, and the speaker that we were listening to was giving some information and awareness for some different difficulties for different individuals in the workplace, specifically learning and behavioral disorders, specifically ADHD. She was talking about how that can affect some people in the workplace. It was a good conference, good speech, informational and whatnot. But the one thing that I took out of it as I was listening was we have come a long way, especially in the recent past years, in becoming very, what I'm going to refer to as accommodating as a society to different individual struggles or needs. So today, I think we should kind of unpack that and just kind of recognize where we're heading and where we've come as a society in terms of this and kind of what we think about it. You know, is it good? Is it bad? Is it healthy? Not healthy? How does that impact the world that we're in today? Because I think, for example, if we go back 30, 40, 50 years ago, the workplace and the home life wasn't overly accommodating of really too much in terms of society, behavioral, or learning differences. Okay? There was, you were expected to do what needed to be done, and that was pretty much the end of it, right? ADD, ADHD, learning dyslexia, disabilities, items like those. There wasn't a whole lot of really anything in regards to those 50, 60 years ago. Now you fast forward to today, and I'm listening to a speech in which the speaker, right or wrong, is advocating that people with, ADHD, etc., should have different or lesser workloads because of their condition, I'm just going to call it. And, that the workplace and home life should accommodate that for that individual. So there's definitely been a wide shift in the spectrum there. And we can take this not just specifically to the item that I was a part of at the conference today, but you could take this as far as accommodating in terms of driving ability on the road, just as a society where we're going in this shift of mindset that we need to accommodate the outliers or the specific situations. So, first thoughts, impressions, what do you think, and how do you want to unpack this topic?
Starting it out with, I'm going to separate right off the bat intent versus reality, and then free choice versus regulation. I think we should separate all of those separate categories here. So the intent here, the intent behind the speaker, let's assume the best of everybody involved here.
Mm-hmm.
You got a buddy, let's play a real one here. You got a buddy, you got to explain things about 50% slower.
Okay.
It takes him an extra minute. You might pick up something after 5 minutes, it takes him 7. Okay? Just a little bit extra. He's your buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You have no issue taking that extra moment with him. Not a big deal. It means nothing to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's a Jim. It's all right. I've always been a little faster than Jim. You don't think anything of it. The problem is when the good intent there is, hey, let me help cover for Jim.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jim. He's a good guy. He just needs an extra moment there. Not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
When that goes from the kind-hearted intent of free will to, hey, Jim, I'm going to pay you the same money as someone else, but I need them to make 10 houses. I need you to make 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to pay you both the same, but I want to hold you to a different standard for XYZ reason. Could be a condition. Now, is that legit or not legit? That's a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
My general experience in the 2025 internet, 2026. Wow. I have not made that mistake yet. I made it so far.
There you go.
In this 2026 era, people will self-diagnose conditions frequently.
Mm-hmm. That may not be accurate.
Right. Or the accuracy may not have been confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
And in the work environment, confirmation is kind of important.
Yeah.
Because for every few honest people who are like, hey, I need an extra hand, which I think is on them to actually ask you for help. I think they need to be humble enough to lead with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of people who are like, if I claim this, I get a lower standard and the same money. They see a shortcut. There's a handful of people like that, and that they end up ruining it for the rest. So I had a client not too long ago. He's an adult. He has lived life for many years.
Mm-hmm.
He started the meeting with, hey guys, I need you to know I cannot read and write.
Wow.
Yeah, not an item that we hear too often.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he then told us the story. It's like, hey, I've always had a hard time with this. I'm now at this age. It's not, I've decided I'm really never going to really fully grasp it. I mean, I can see the words on the page, but I can't comprehend really what they're saying. So there does appear to be a legit, notable, probably diagnosed item for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so humble and kind at the beginning with us to say, hey guys, I need you to know this about me. Because we're going to be looking at some facts and figures together. It's not going to work very well for me to do it this way that you do with everyone else. Can you guys accommodate?
Yep.
And that's basically, he phrased it differently. But he was so open and upfront. And he's like, and my therapist told me that I need to just tell people up front, this is how this goes. Because he's like, for years, he wouldn't tell anybody.
Instead of just expecting people to pick up on it.
Yeah, and said they weren't picking up on it in the right way, and this is just, it frees him. If he could take that, when he took that moment of humility and said, hey, I am this way. Now, I don't like his answer of, I'm never going to try to learn it. I mean, I didn't love that, but I appreciated him saying, hey, for this meeting, I need you to know this.
Yep.
So that was him approaching us, letting us know exactly what's going on, and then we were able to actually still continue and have a productive meeting. But if he had not told us that before, our behavior, we could not have possibly accommodated it in a way that he would have understood us, because we would have been going through ABC method, but he needed DEF method.
Right.
So I believe if you happen to be struggling with anything, this could be anything from something that's diagnosable to just having a really bad day. A lot of the overlap there is very similar.
Communication is key.
Yes. If you know, the wheelchair is an example here. We are all happy to accommodate ramp access, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going to like a brand new small facility and you've never been there and you happen to be in a wheelchair, it's helpful to call ahead. Because they may not have yet, you know, if it's a newer place, they may not have thought of, hey, we need to accommodate this, this, and this, and this. So sometimes you need to take your effort forward to say, hey, I want to come see your show. I'm in a wheelchair. Are you going to have any kind of access for me? No, we haven't got the permit approved yet, but I have two of my bodyguards who will physically lift the chair up. Oh, perfect. Sometimes your accommodation's a little wonky. Mm-hmm. But I think the change happens when it goes from, hey, I would really appreciate you accommodating me because I'm requesting/requiring something outside the norm, versus I am demanding you to give me something outside the norm because I am entitled to this, because someone, God, society, genetics has taken something and made me different. I think that attitude and heart really changes it.
I like what you just said there. Entitled and demand to be accommodated. So with that point, I want to kind of zoom out a little bit. And I think let's discuss how, and more so why, society has started to shift in that. And let's take a moment to kind of turn a little bit here and shift a little bit away from maybe the genetic, biological, behavioral learning part of it and go more towards just like a societal item.
Okay.
So, for example, I think today we see a lot more individuals living their adult lives still at home with their parents, right? So you'll see a large group of them, and this is just an example. I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but you'll see society's kind of shifted in a way where it's like, you'll have an individual, they grow up, they graduate high school, they get a job, or maybe they don't get a job, but they then continue to live their lives at home with their parents for an extended period of time. And they kind of have this mentality of, well, this thing was hard, or I was anxious about that thing, or I couldn't make it here, or I had this roadblock here, so I'm kind of just entitled to be taken care of because XYZ thing. And not saying that's always the case. I know there's different stories for different people. I'm not claiming any of that. But that seems to be more and more of a trend where individuals feel entitled to kind of have that support if for whatever reason they run into that. So why do we see that kind of shift in multiple different things, whether it's the example I just gave or the conference I was a part of this afternoon or whatever else it might be? What do you think is driving that change as a society? Do you think it's just more awareness is being shared so people are more aware of it and it's on people's minds? Do we think that it's more of a mentality shift where maybe 50, 60 years ago it wasn't as acceptable and now we're like, as a society, shifting to the thought process of, hey, this is how we need to handle? It's a change in thought process about it. Where do you think that shift is taking place?
I'm going to say twofold on this, and I believe it's like it's a flywheel to kind of feed into each other here. Whatever you focus on is the result you get. So, for instance, if I tell you, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, but if you tell me if you need some help, then I only need you to do X and Z. By telling people, hey, we accommodate, and then putting on the billboard, we accommodate, people are naturally going to be like, oh, okay, I should be accommodated. So one, I think, is it's putting the awareness factor, then mixed in with the human nature of, I just want someone to take care of this for me. I don't want to do the hard thing. I think it's a flywheel, because if every time you go somewhere and someone let's say someone's legitimately hurt here, the wheelchair example again, just picking on wheelchair people today.
Oh my goodness.
I say that with all the love for them. But if everywhere they go, someone always says, well, hey, we accommodate. You need to be at the front of the line. You need to be at the front of the concert. Let's take care of this. Let's always move you. And you always get favorable treatment. Mm-hmm. Instead of being treated like an equal and receiving some kindness, but being treated with advantage due to a disability, that kind of feeds on itself, because the advantage you now consider to be your normal.
Yeah, once you receive special treatment, you feel entitled to the special treatment,
right?
Regardless of whether or not you actually deserve it,
right? Because
not saying that people in wheelchairs don't deserve special accommodations. but on a more generic term.
Right. This is the emotional attitude toward it, not the physicality of us getting a ramp. This is what is the attitude of the person there?
Yeah, I think you could be 100% accurate. I think kind of from the perspective that I see it is I think once you open the door to enable accommodation for specific requirements or needs, I think you're almost inviting the need. It's like that the cart before the horse type mentality of it. If you offer it, people are going to find a way to take it. And I think I don't know that it's necessarily a situation of there's more or less individuals who are or aren't in need of accommodating. But I think it's just as a society, we started to grow accustomed to it. Like you were saying, our mentality is we've started to expect it, whether or not we truly needed it. We've just started to expect that accommodation rather than understanding that it's available when possible. I guess maybe it's not a great way of putting it, but I guess it wasn't always available in times past, but now that we've made it available, and even more so, more and more frequently available in all types of terms, it's become more and more expected.
When accommodation equals advantage, I believe we hit quite a problem very quickly. So, for example, and I believe you mentioned it earlier, if the standard of work is different for two employees, and one solely because of a general lifestyle learning advantage, we actually put different work requirements on two people, but present the same reward, society naturally will begin valuing one of them as, oh, this guy's not being valued properly. It's not going to land very long here. There's a difference between picking up slack for your buddy and it's a company policy that anyone with X, Y, and Z, we hold to a different standard. Because if you really want to kill the morale in a company, pay one of their people to sit there and do nothing and make sure everyone else sees him. That will kill all morality in a company. Just really, the motivation just dies right there. One bad employee in a group will do significantly more damage than one good employee will lift them up.
Yeah, because I think for me, I think the main focus of this video is not a conversation of whether or not some people do or don't deserve accommodation.
Not at all.
That's not for us to dictate. But I think my point in this conversation is we need to be careful as a society that we don't get to a point where accommodation is so much expected that people expect it regardless of whether or not it's required. For example, the guy at work, like you were talking about, he just finds it difficult to accomplish a certain task. He's not any more or less advantaged at it than anyone else. He just finds it a little bit difficult and really just doesn't like doing it. We need to be careful that we don't get to a point where that type of accommodation is we're like, well, he struggles with that, so we're not going to make him do that, and we'll make Jim over here do it because Jim does do well at that. But he doesn't do super well at that. So we're going to just accommodate Larry over here because he doesn't like it or he doesn't want to do it or he's not as good at it. That, I think, is the key point that I kind of wanted to bring up here, was that we have to be careful to get so far on the other side of the circle there of accommodating when required to just accommodating because it's expected. If there's any, excuse me, if we get to that point, I think that's where it's really an unhealthy behavior for society.
Because while Larry, in this example here, let's say he actually likes it, he just has a hard time.
Yeah.
The best thing for Larry is not to lower all of his standards, but to help him accomplish his standards.
Right.
Because if I take something from you, if I take your efforts, then people aren't going to trust your work. So, for example, if you're trying to hire 2 people and you know one of them, everyone just gives him a little extra, but he doesn't actually do the work, what's the chances that you're going to want to hire that guy? Because on paper, he just gets marked up a little bit more, even though he didn't do the labor. And any apples to apples comparison, you're not going to want to hire that guy. But if he could actually accomplish the work, then you got some level playing field there. But again, it's almost every one of these is very individual. It's when the individual truly wants to do good, and they're like, look, I just need a hand, you know? I'm really short. Can you get me a step stool, boss? I mean, no one's going to argue with that. But it's when that's taken too far of, I walked in the building, I now demand a step stool. You knew you were short when you walked in. We didn't know this was about to happen. Otherwise, we could have provided one. But the heart of it and the law often do not always align here. Something with the best of intentions. Hey, let's help accommodate people with learning disabilities. The ADHD or the ADD. We want to help accommodate. Yeah, everyone. Sometimes people just need an extra hand. Totally fine. We all support that. But when the standards gets changed, and then the pay doesn't follow properly, and all these other things, and then the demand of it, and then the ungratefulness for the demand, all of that adds in, and it kind of builds resentment toward someone who probably is doing, some of the guys doing it totally right. Just like, hey, I need a hand. But if they had approached us all privately, we all would have accommodated. Generally speaking, the average person, if you ask for help, if an old lady who can't walk well asks you to help across the street, you offer the help.
Well, and I think you're right, but I think you can also look at this from, let's say, less of an employee or workplace mentality and more of a home mentality, right? Say one of your family members or whatnot, has whatever struggle or issue it might be. If you get to the point where the accommodation hinders their growth, I think is where we're starting to get as a society where it's no longer, hey, I'm just going to pick on kids in school, okay? If an individual kid struggles with math, not because they have any necessarily specific learning disability, but they have a hard time with math. It's not their thing. If we grow as a society where we start to say, well, hey, because Johnny struggles with math, we're not going to make him meet the same standards of education as the rest of the kids in the class, and we're just going to accommodate his level of math learning, where it's not because Johnny needed to be accommodated differently than the other kids in terms of educational criteria, but rather just maybe a different learning style or something of that nature. It's not that he needed accommodated in less of expectation-wise, but I've started to see, like in this conference where the mentality around the accommodation is less of a, hey, how can we get you to succeed the same as everyone else? And it's more of, well, we just won't, you don't have to succeed. We'll do it for you.
That is so. I'll speak to just guys on this one. That is beyond damaging.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you, hey, to get into this particular club, you have to do 50 push-ups. And you know everyone in that club is 50. But for you, you only got to do 40. What I just do, now let's assume I'm a kind person. Now, I don't believe all this is through the kindness of your heart. I think there's some real sinister stuff going on in the back end for a lot of these people. But I just took something from you. There's nothing, especially once people find out that you have this accommodation,
Mm-hmm.
there's virtually nothing you'll ever be able to do to have that group of people believe you're capable of doing the 50.
Yeah. And it's not I want to be clear, it's not a conversation of whether or not an individual actually needs help or, a difference of pathway or course or whatever. It's the conversation of we're accommodating to the point of we're lowering expectations in general.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hindering the learning, the growth, and the potential of the individual because we don't want to make them uncomfortable enough to go through the process of learning.
And one of the byproducts of that is, let's say you're not clear on the behind-the-scenes benefit you're giving someone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you don't fully tell them anything. They're like, I know I had some accommodation, but no one ever really told me what it was. Maybe it's a couple points on your grade. Maybe it's a couple XYZ things.
Mm-hmm.
Your entire life, you will never truly know if you succeeded or if someone gave you that success. Because that was taken from you. And that, as a dude, that would crush me. If I thought I had accomplished all these great things, and then someone years later said, "Oh, actually, you didn't do any of that. We actually gave you. You only did 95% of it, but all the accomplishments that was actually us.
Yeah.
But we thought you couldn't handle not feeling good, and now they're talking down to you because they think they're above you. And while the pitch was we want to help here."
Mm-hmm.
What it was on the backside is we need to control. We need to save them,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to we need to help them lift themselves with a little bit of societal help. To no. They can't do it. And so in my mind, I usually see it's more sinister on the back end.
Yeah, I could see a scenario in which that was the case.
Now, I'll say the average person though is not sinister in this. It's
Yeah.
more like, yeah, I'll help someone with a wheelchair. Yeah, we're all happy to help, generally speaking. But when the expectation changes, or let's use that family example you were using there. Let's say you have a family member who might be on some form of self-diagnosed on any style of mental disorder. Self-diagnosed though. Okay? And they're a little rude to you. And they say, "Oh, it's my blah, blah, blah." And they take the responsibility off themselves. They blame their disorder, self-diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
and then refuse to work on themselves to assist with that and expect you to accommodate their attitude.
Yeah, I think that goes right back to what I was saying about it hinders their growth ability. You know, just like I was talking, little Johnny, as an example, struggles with math. It's not say that kid needs an extra hour of tutoring.
Sure.
Just because it's not his thing. We're not saying he shouldn't get the extra hour of tutoring. We're just saying let's get him to go through the extra hour of tutoring, not give him less math homework, or he doesn't have to take this test, or he gets a bump on his grade. It's that mentality of, hey, if he struggles with math, let's get him the help or the substitute course or criteria or whatever, so that he can learn it or succeed in it, rather than just lowering the expectation or just not requiring them to learn or grow.
Right. He needs the pride of knowing he can succeed at this level. But if you just lower the level low enough to help save his feelings, which generally speaking, we do not like people having hurt feelings. But if someone's going to have hurt feelings, it needs to be for a legit reason.
Yeah, and I think it's, and this goes back to when I was starting to ask a question of why we think it started to get to this place. I think it started with really good intentions, which it was, use the wheelchair, for example. People in wheelchairs absolutely need some amount of accommodation, right? You go to a restaurant, there needs to be a way for them to get into the restaurant. That's a legitimate thing. But it's where we've gotten to the point where it's no longer just about true need. It's let's not require them to put in the work or the effort so that they can accomplish the same thing. A person in a wheelchair can't get in the restaurant if there's no way for them to get in. That's just the way it is. But at the same time, if you're in school, just because you don't want to do your homework or it's hard doesn't mean you don't have to do it just because it's hard. You still have to do it. It's two very different things. And I think that's where society's got is we started with the good intention of accommodating where it's really actually needed. Same result, same goal. Just now it's shifted to let's accommodate what's hard and what's difficult or what makes someone uncomfortable just because they don't want to do that thing.
And that it can lead to the self-inflicted, self-diagnosed item. So the wheelchair example.
Yeah.
Iraqi war vet in a wheelchair, lost his leg in combat. We are all full accommodation and probably front of the line as a thank you to this guy. Total
Absolutely.
Accommodation. Someone who believes they should be in a wheelchair and puts them one, and they put themselves in one by their own hand. Not something we should accommodate. But to the average person, we can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
All we see is someone in a wheelchair, and unfortunately, the people taking advantage of a system, even if it's like very, very, very few, it gives such a bad rap to those who we want to help and accommodate. And that's really the more damaging aspect of this, because these are the loud people, the I demand XYZ, the I'm not the one, it's all about me, serve me. But at the end of the day, this is where we talked about this in another one here. The desire to succeed and be independent really has to be shining through here. Even if no one's going to help me, I need to find a way. And if the only way you have is to make sure everyone else serves you, we might need to work on your mentality.
Yeah. And I think that's what's the hard part about this whole topic and discussion of accommodation is the last thing you want to do is prevent someone from getting some accommodation that they truly need. That's the last thing you want to do. But at the same time, it's hard to figure out that line of, okay, what's an accommodation and I don't at that point I don't think the word accommodation is the correct term there. It's how do we provide this individual with what they need to succeed versus when are we just accommodating an inconvenience or difficulty for someone who doesn't feel like it? Where do you draw the line between true need and difference of mentality?
And I think the answer to that can only be found in the one-on-one specific take your time situation, which makes this so difficult. Because once there's a rule, a law, or regulation, it's a blanket. Yeah. It's for everybody and for nobody. But when we can see and always remember the human in front of us, like go back to my client who couldn't read or write. Well, in my industry, there's things I'm legally not allowed to offer him because he cannot, in good conscience, sign a contract saying that I have read and understand. Now, granted, nobody reads in terms and conditions, generally speaking, but he started the conversation with, I can't do this.
Right.
So of course, we accommodated greatly. We pivoted totally.
Mm-hmm.
But if he hadn't done that, if he hadn't been so upfront honest with us, we could not have truly helped him. Now, we still helped him.
Yeah.
But we all worked into a way that everybody was very comfortable and understood what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to keep that in mind. See the human in front of us. It would be quite difficult if everyone around me could do a specific thing and I couldn't do it. That'd be very difficult. And then to walk into a room and then admit, hey, I have a very specific shortfall and it's this.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't be fun. But
No, not at all.
You got to see the human, see the child of God in front of you and treat them as such.
Yeah.
I think if we can keep that in mind, we can really move forward with the accommodating is just helping at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I said I don't. To me, I don't like the word accommodating because it makes it the mentality there. I don't like. But the way you said it's truly helping an individual or providing someone with what they need to succeed. I think I like putting it that way. You're providing an individual with what they need to succeed. You're equipping them with the tools to succeed. Versus the alternate, which I think is very important that society stay away from, is that we are just accommodating a lack of mentality in an individual because we've been raised in a society that tells us you have to accommodate, or just we do accommodate. So I think that's the point we're trying to get at with this video. I think we're just trying to encourage people to reevaluate their mentality, ensure that they're striving for success, and ensure we as a society are critically thinking through how to support good mentality in individuals and equip those who need the tools to succeed with those tools.
And if you need help, ask for help. Be humble enough just to ask. The average person wants to help you. They truly do. Mm-hmm. But if you demand the help, you might be hit with some opposition on it. Ask for help humbly. And if someone asks you for help, do your best to help them if it's in your power.
Absolutely.
We're just trying to help out a couple people here.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yep. You're putting good back into the world. Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Yeah. And put yourself in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Try to imagine what your life would be like if you'd switch places there. What would you need? What would you want?
Yeah.
And then try to be that level of patient and humble with them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the good conversation back and forth. Hope that helped some people or encouraged some people. Just a mentality, a mindset to keep in mind. Mm-hmm. So, till next time.